Hello Turtles, welcome to my game development area. This is where I work on any of 100 different projects I have going at any given moment in time. Some of the longer term projects I have is TurtleBrains, my C++ framework for rapid 2D game development, Zoom Car World 3, which is basically a stepping stone for my overall goal of making a racing simulator fully physically accurate and top of the line like iRacing or Live for Speed. Speaking of Live for Speed, I have a long ongoing project in that racing simulator environment for artificial intelligence and racing simulations. And in that project, I'm basically brute force learning my way through artificial intelligence using non-traditional techniques, so not your typical way to control a car around the track. But most recently, I've participated in LudumDare 38, where I kind of got together with 8 people, including myself, and we made a game in 72 hours. Now, the team size was not expected to be 8. Instead, a scheduling mishap caused one of our artists to kind of miss the first day and a half or so, and that led us to look for another artist to fill in, and the ripple continued into level design since the obstacles weren't really getting in art-wise, so it was hard to make the levels. So we had to bump up with another designer as well. From the programming side, things went pretty good. I was actually also surprised that the initial design of the project went much more rapid than I was expecting for 6 people. I mean, there were only 4 or 5 of us, I think, on the actual time of theme announcement, but we had an idea in 30 minutes, and we were doing basically an infinite runner where you jump and duck. And I actually did something for LudumDare 33 where it was almost exactly the same. So I knew the scope was perfect, and I had I envisioned upping the complexity and making it better. Like, that's what I was focused on. I wanted to see how my framework has changed over time since LudumDare 33, and making the same game really allows me to compare that and make things better. So I would actually say that things went overall really well with TurtleBrains in the project. The behavior system was great. It did have a slight issue with the pushing and popping. So each entity has a stack of behaviors that you push them on and you pop them off, and only the top behavior is the one that actually matters. So if you're in the running state, you can push on a sprinting state, and if you're in the sprinting state, you could then push on, say, a sliding state. But usually what you do is pop off the sprinting state to push on the sliding state. It's not really a bug, it's just a design issue at the moment that I'd like to fix. Is if you pop off a state while you're in its simulate or another function, you can't use any of the member variables from within that state until you can't, because the state gets deleted. There is no until. You just can't do it anymore. If you do, you will cause a crash. I ran into that once or twice during the weekend, but it's something I've designed around before, and I understand the limitation. It's something I would like to change going forward with that whole system. It's just a little more complex, and needs a lot more thinking. Other little annoyances that would make the rapid game development a little bit easier in TurtleBrains is grabbing the mouse position. Currently, you have to make 2 ints for X and Y, and you pass the address of those variables into a get mouse position, and then you cast those to floats to put into a vector so it's easy to deal with. And all that's really cumbersome. Why can't I just go get mouse position and have a vector to play with? So that's going to change. Trying to fade out audio. So there were a few instances where I needed to be able to fade out the audio of a particular sound, but the behavior that the player was in. I believe this was in the sprinting behavior, for instance. He had a sprint loop that would continue to play over and over again until you stop sprinting. And it would have been really nice to take that loop and fade it out instead of just stopping it. But everything inside the sprint behavior dies as soon as you pop the behavior off, so you no longer have the controller to fade it out. What I need is a way to set and forget on the audio controller, fade out, maybe even fade in. There's also a handful of other things that I've thought of that would be nice improvements, so I think that's what I'm going to work on first. And if I get far enough along on that project, maybe I'll start my top-down 2D racing game and or some sample projects for TurtleBrains. So, until next week, have a good one.